it's Lori Figone, Cookaholic, and today we are in Nicasio, California at Devils Gulch Ranch, and you are going to see where some absolutely delicious rabbit is being raised. Let's go. Mark.
Howdy, Lori. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm just fine.
I'm so happy to be here at your ranch today. And this pig is so cute. What is it eating?
This is Marshmallow. She was our camp mascot a couple of years ago, and she's eating a porridge kind of concoction that's whole milk, brewer's grain, tortillas, and bread.
That sounds like something I would enjoy.
Well, she's doing a good job with it.
But you know what I'm really here to see is where you raise that delicious tasting rabbit.
You bet. Let's go. We can take a look at the rabbits.
All right.
So we'll look here at the mothers and the babies that we have here. We have 3 breeds that we cross. One of them is called Rex, and that's all the colors you see come from the Rex genetics.
Yes.
They were a dual-purpose breed for both meat and fur. They have the nicest fur, and they have just every possible color you can imagine. The all-white ones with the pink ears are New Zealand's, and the white ones that have black ears and a black nose and black tips on their feet, those are Californians.
And that's what I used to raise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Karen Corda's got them, and a number of other people have the Californians. They're very popular. Californians and New Zealand's are the 2 most popular meat breeds.
Over 15 years, you've grown to how many rabbits now?
Altogether, we have about 8,000.
8,000.
Close to 8,000, yeah. We've got this barn, and then we have 3 other barns out in Two Rock, West Petaluma, that are each a little bit bigger than this barn.
Okay.
This barn was originally a horse barn, started with 1 stall with the proverbial 3 rabbits, two girls and a boy. And now we've got 1,000 females, roughly.
Wow, that is amazing. And right behind you, now this is what they munch on?
Yeah, this is basically an alfalfa pellet. A few other small amounts of other stuff in it, but mostly alfalfa. And
I love the smell.
We've worked with a mill to get a certain formula that we like, and that seems to work for us.
And from the day that the bunnies are born until you process them, how long does that take?
10 to 12 weeks.
10 to 12 weeks.
And one of the things that people ask us about rabbits is, well, gee, they multiply like rabbits. How come they're so expensive? Why aren't they cheaper than chicken?
Right.
And the reason is that they're mammals. And it's people don't understand that as a mammal, their babies are born with no digestive system, no immune system. They must nurse on their mothers. And it takes them, a week or so before they actually even start getting around and start eating some solid food. So that you can't just order up 1,000-day-old chicks like you can with chickens.
Right.
You can't incubate them. When a chicken's born, it is essentially ready to go. It's ready to eat solid food. It's ready. Its immune system is pretty much fully developed. And that's not the case with mammals, and particularly with rabbits. Mother Nature also designed rabbits to breed very fast and very quickly and have big litters. But what she did, the flip side of that, is they are not very maternal. Their maternal instincts are one of the poorest of the mammals.
Now, is that also why you added the Rex breed in there, because they make better parents?
No, the parenting doesn't seem to be a breed characteristic one way or the other. The Rex did seem to be a little bit calmer, a little easier to deal with when my wife was showing them and doing the 4-H.
Right.
Because the meat breeds, the Californians and New Zealand's, were bred so much just for their meat characteristics, a lot of times the temperament was not an issue or not a concern.
Okay.
So they were less likely, or they might be less likely to have a good temperament.
Okay.
Whereas if you're doing a breed such as Rex that was mostly relegated to the show circuit, if you've got a schizoid one, generally you don't continue to keep breeding it.
Yes. Now, we were having a conversation about the cute little bunnies.
Yes, They are cute. Not that baby piggies or lambs aren't cute either, but rabbits are cute. They're very pretty. And my wife does get asked quite often, you know, how can you eat such a pretty, cute animal? And she says, well, why would I only want to eat ugly things?
I think that is a great answer. Absolutely great. If people stopped and think about where their food actually comes from, and I want you to know that I have cooked your rabbit 2 times already, and it is so delicious. It was juicy and tender, and my husband can't wait for me to cook up some more.
Great, great. Well, thank you. Rabbit is an excellent meat. It's an excellent quality meat. They are a pseudo-ruminant, which means they have a cecum, which acts like the forestomachs or helps them so they can process roughage, and so they're a strictly vegetarian animal, and being a pseudo-ruminant, they have a better ratio of the good saturated fats, the omega-3s, conjugated linoleic acid, and lower in cholesterol, higher in protein.
And all things that we should be looking for when we're looking for a protein to put on the table.
To a large extent, yeah. There's some studies that were done, I believe, by the UN, one of the UN groups that was studying, you know, animals to raise in developing countries, and they determined that a female doe rabbit in her lifetime can produce more meat than a cow.
When you moved to this property, had you been a farmer before that?
I came here from Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles, hated every minute of it, wanted to be a farmer since the day I was 2 years old. And I remember being on a pony with the mane in the back of in my hand, going, yes, this is where I want to be. I had a singular vision growing up. I used to go to Griffith Park virtually every day on my bicycle, hang out at the pony rides and at the zoo and through the hills and stuff. And as soon as I graduated high school, I left. I did go down to UC San Diego, but I bought a horse immediately, lived in the back country. And in 71, I moved up here and was lucky enough to find this property. But
did this property already have a name, Devil's Gulch?
It did.
It did, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful piece of property, but you can definitely see that big gulch. Was it because it was a devilish time getting back in here, or it gets hotter than heck in the summertime?
No, we don't think it was the heat, but yeah, it's just probably one of the stories. We've heard 2 stories about the name that seem to make some sort of sense. The one that we heard the longest and we believed for a long time was probably why it was named that. It's the creek, and it's the canyon. So this is Devil's Gulch Creek. We're the headwaters of Devil's Gulch, and it runs out and hits Paper Mill Creek down at Sir Francis Drake at San Lupe Taylor State Park.
Okay.
The Miwok Indians who lived on the other side of Nicasio up Halleck Creek had their main campground, their main village over there, and they would hike through here to get to Taylor's Mill on Paper Mill Creek and do their trading and hike back. And one of the stories that we had heard was it got called, maybe there was some translation issues, but a difficult canyon or really devilish canyon or very difficult to you know, as though the devils had created it and this kind of thing. So we started eating the rabbits that we were raising with the 4-H, and my wife's family's French, and her mother, Raymond, is quite an accomplished French chef and would get rabbits from us to have for dinner. And she invited a friend of hers who was a French chef from San Francisco. It's about 12 years ago, over for dinner, and he just couldn't believe it. Where did you get these rabbits? They're wonderful. She gave him our contact information, and it wasn't long after that we started getting calls from other restaurants. Chez Panisse called us, French Laundry called us, and some others, Jardiniere. And a lot of these restaurants hadn't had good rabbit available to them.
Right.
And if they can't get, you know, if they're going to just buy Chinese frozen rabbit, they're not going to put it on the menu. So when they found a local producer producing good quality rabbits, there was just a huge demand for it, and we were thrilled.
But you told me a story about when you first delivered your rabbit to French Laundry.
The French Laundry called and was, Mark, you know, we heard you've got rabbits, this, that, and the other, and says, yeah. I said, well, can you bring us some up? We want some. Okay. So I took them up 6 rabbits, and normally I'd leave a box off and go on about my business.
Right.
And the fellow who was the butcher there at the time said, oh, just a minute, I want to look at these right now. And he opened up the box and pulled the rabbit out on the butcher block and started cutting it up and looking at the liver, and he's calling all the other chefs over. Hey guys, come take a look at this. Look at this liver, look at these kidneys, look at the size of these rear legs and the loin and the width. I mean, he knew his stuff, which was gratifying for us. And he just said, yeah, we'll take them. Can you get us 10 or 12 a week? You know, we'll bring them up. And they never asked me how much money they were, which was odd, I guess, but understandable.
Understandable if you're dining at the French Laundry.
Yeah. And I've had a relationship with them ever since. They're just a wonderful client.
And you've grown from this whole thing that started with your mother-in-law cooking a delicious rabbit dish.
For a chef friend of hers, yeah. Yeah, we've grown exponentially, and there was a huge built-up demand for good quality rabbit, as you found with your show and with cooking and with people. There's a lot of people who will say, oh, we used to have rabbit when we were kids.
Yes, and I used to raise rabbits. My mom would barbecue them, put the same sauce she put on her barbecued chicken, but the recipe that I'm cooking today is like...
It's a rabbit recipe.
It is delicious.
Well, it's interesting. You can substitute rabbit in a dish anywhere you use chicken.
Yes.
So anybody who doesn't have an idea what they want to do with it, you can just plug it right in where it says chicken, just plug in rabbit, cook it exactly the same, do all the same stuff.
Right.
But if you Google or if you look in the books, I mean, there are millions of rabbit-specific recipes.
Right. And you know, the rabbit doesn't have the skin on it, so you would want to use a skinless chicken recipe. But yeah, and like you say about the size of your rabbit fryers are huge.
they're good size.
Yeah, get a lot of meat off of them.
Yeah, the bigger ones have a I think more fat and better flavor and a little better texture than the real small ones. Traditionally, both in Europe and the United States, the producers were producing a much smaller rabbit because that was the height of its economic feasibility. Okay. And we chose to produce a more traditional, larger rabbit for the restaurants because that's what they wanted. They wanted the best quality, not necessarily the cheapest or the most efficient to raise. Right,
because I believe one of your rabbits all dressed out was like, what, 3.5 pounds?
Yeah, 3 to 3.5 pounds. Those are the big ones.
Yeah.
And that's quite popular with the restaurants. Okay. I mean, we sometimes get them as high as 3.5 or 4 for the fryers.
Yeah, which is a big size.
That's a big rabbit. The older Stewart rabbits, when we have cull breeders, we'll use those for sausage or pâtés or terrines or rillettes.
Right.
And those will be, sometimes we'll get a dressed weight of 8 pounds or 9 pounds or something.
Wow.
They're really big ones sometimes.
Now, if I wanted to purchase your meat, tell everybody where we can find it, and also you're also not only selling the meat, but we can purchase the rabbit hides.
Yes, we sell ourselves. We sell some at the ranch, direct sales, occasionally, not a lot, but mostly our biggest market is at the Marin County Civic Center on Sundays. And we're there pretty much every Sunday unless it's raining. And we have rabbit, of course, and pork, and quail. And we also have some sausages that we produce. I don't usually take lamb just because it's harder to have the cuts and stuff.
Okay.
There are a few markets in San Francisco that have it. I don't know of any markets.
You sell to quite a few big name chefs. I've read your website.
Restaurants we have quite a bit. Locally, Central Market and Risibisi have been getting, in Petaluma have been getting our products.
Yes.
The Pizzeria Rosso was getting, has been.
And what is your website?
The website is devilsgulchranch.com.
Okay. Devilsgulchranch.com is where you can find out more information about this incredible man, Mark Pasternak. And I so have to thank you for having me at your ranch today.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. I had so much fun today at Devils Gulch Ranch, and now I am headed back to my kitchen with some delicious rabbit that Mark is sending home with me. Let's go. Devils Gulch Ranch is gorgeous. It reminds me of home. Mark was so kind to send me home with some of his rabbit to cook up, and what I'm going to be making for you today is going to be called Wine Country Rabbit. I grew up on a ranch, and not many people know that at one time I had a barn filled with 30 rabbits that I raised for meat. So I know about butchering rabbits, I know how to raise them, and now I'm going to teach you how to cut it up. So we're going to cut the legs off first. So we just want to go right in there, and it comes off very easily. And if you see a little spot like that that's red, don't even worry about it. So we're just going to set that aside, take off the other front leg. It comes off very easily. Now we'll take off the back legs, and I'm going to go in this way. There's a bone right there that you want to avoid. Cut right around it. And then right here you will snap it, just like that. And you want to cut through this joint, which is easy to find if you give it a twist and go right through the middle. And now on to this side. Give it a twist. And I think I need to cut a little more. When I was growing up on the ranch, a fun thing that I enjoyed doing was when they butchered a pig or a cow, I enjoyed cutting up the meat. My grandmother and my parents and I would be around the table with our sharp knives, always have a sharp knife, cutting up meat. So once you get the legs off of the rabbit, you don't have much meat left. You have this thick piece, you have the loins under here. And so this part, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it at the rib cage right here. And then this will actually snap off too. Cut through this flap of meat. And there we go. Now this piece in my hand here, I will save and put it in the stock pot. Stick it in the freezer till you have enough bones to make a nice pot of soup. This part will also go to my stock pot. And in the background, you might hear my bacon sizzling. What I have in my frying pan is some bacon that I've diced up. I'm cooking the bacon down. I'm going to use the bacon in the recipe and also the bacon grease. So here we have stock pot, here we have going into the pan. This piece needs to be cut off of the backbone. I'm just following the bones here down the back. And cut as close to the bone as you can get, because this is where a delicious piece of boneless meat is going to be, right here. Now that is all meat. And what I'm gonna do when I cook this, there's a solid piece, a thicker piece, and a thinner piece, and I like to just wrap it up when I cook it. So all of this is going to be in the oven at the same time. So you have bones, and then you have boneless, and you want them to cook in the same amount of time. So that's my little secret. Okay, once you have your rabbit all cut into nice pieces, spread it out on your board that you've used for your raw meat. And what I have to season it today is my special mixture of salt, pepper, and garlic salt. And you just want to coat, actually that's a little too much, so let's go like that. Season both sides. Okay, and then what you do with these pieces without the bones is just roll them right up like so. Roll this one right up like that. The rabbit is all seasoned and ready to go into my hot pan, which I have left the bacon fat. I cooked a ½ pound of bacon diced, taken the bacon out, left the fat in, and I just want to sear it really quickly on each side. And this is to impart a wonderful smoky flavor into the meat, and also to sear it to keep the juices inside while it's baking in my oven. You don't want to crowd the pan, so I'm saving these last 2 pieces for the next batch. As soon as you see it starting to turn a white color, flip them over. I can smell that bacon fat and a little hint of garlic salt that I put in there. When the pieces are done, you take them out of the pan, and I'm using a 13 by 9 baking pan that I've sprayed with cooking spray. And they just go right into here. And we'll add these last 2 pieces. Okay, and then we're going to head back over here with our cutting board and take your smoking pan off of the heat. So what we're going to add next is some fresh rosemary out of my garden, some Meyer lemons, which are off of my tree, and some fresh garlic. And this is, I wanted to make this recipe super easy. So we're just going to take our scissors and snip the fresh rosemary right over the top of your rabbit. Just enough to cover every piece. And I have my oven preheating at 375 degrees. If you want to make this ahead, you can stick it in the refrigerator and take it out, bring it to room temperature, and then stick it in the oven and bake it. So for the lemons, we're going to use the whole slice. So just slice your lemon really thin, and then you're going to put a layer of lemons over the top of every piece of rabbit. And not only is this dish going to be so juicy, but it's going to be beautiful. Okay, now that we have the lemon on, remember that ½ pound of bacon that we cooked? That gets sprinkled right on the top. Now I can only imagine that your mouth is already watering just watching that bacon go on the top. And now we've got to add a little bit of garlic. Growing up, when I would butcher rabbits at home and we would cook them, the only way that I've ever actually eaten rabbit is barbecued. And my mother would use her barbecue chicken sauce on the rabbit. It tasted just like eating chicken, and of course that's what they tell you about every meat, right? It tastes like chicken. Well, rabbit has really just a very mild taste to it. So you could use it in a lot of your chicken recipes. It goes very well if you're making a cacciatore or a stew, or braising it in the oven like we are doing today. I'm just gonna slice the garlic in thin slices also. And that's gonna go on here. And now for my Sonoma County rabbit, some white wine. And I'm using a Chardonnay. You want enough in here to put about, not quite a ½ inch layer of wine into the bottom of your pan. And like I said, my oven is preheated. Now you want to cover it really tight with a piece of foil. And what this is going to do is keep the steam in there and all the juices. And we are going to check this in 1 hour to see if it's done. My rabbit has been cooking for 1 hour and it's time to come out of the oven. Oh, and before I even uncover it, I can smell all of those delicious flavors that we have put into our dish today. I can smell that fresh Meyer lemon, that fresh rosemary, garlic, white wine, and that smoky bacon. Oh my gosh. I don't think I'm going to be sharing this with anybody. Look at the beautiful colors in that rabbit dish that I just took out of my oven, and I can't wait to put a piece on my plate. Not only does it smell delicious, it looks so pretty. And let's take a little piece off of the end and look at how moist that looks. I'm getting that hickory smoke from the bacon, that lemon, fresh rosemary, and wine. All right here in my wine country rabbit dish. I hope you check out the recipe on my website, and I'll see you next time on Cooking with Laurie.